If you're checking out this video, it means you're on the first of three about the Lucky Greens. It turns out that there are at least two, but I think three Jordan Lucky Greens dropping over the next maybe month or so, starting off with these Air Jordan 13s and then a potential Air Jordan 1 low, and then after that we get into that Air Jordan 1 high women's in mid-October. And I'm going to do one video for each of those three shoes, and especially that middle one about the Air Jordan 1 low. That one's a bit of a surprise to people because I'm not seeing it up there on social media or sites or anything like that, except in one place. So either it's a myth and the shoe isn't going to drop, or it's rarely seen and people are going to be really surprised by it. One way or the other, that second of these three videos that I'm going to do is going to be a big deal. But today, that's not what we're looking at. Today, we're looking at the first of these three, and it's going to be 3 consecutive days that I hopefully will run these Lucky Green videos. Because like I say, you've got the Air Jordan 13s, you've got the Air Jordan 1 lows, and the Air Jordan 1 high women's dropping across, I think it's about 20 different days. So without further ado, we're going to get into the first of those shoes and take a look today at the upcoming release of the Nike Air Jordan 13 Lucky Green. This is the Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channel, Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channel days.毎日アップするので毎日見てください. And every single day, and I'm talking 652 consecutive days from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And the reason I know it's 652 days, actually when this video drops it might be 654 days, but the reason I know that is because the very first video that I did in that run of non-stop content was an Air Jordan 13. And it's this right here, the Air Jordan 13 Clot, which I did a video about on December the 9th of 2018. And since that day, I haven't missed a single day on YouTube. I've been on holiday and stuff like that, but when I do that, I just front load the content and manage to make sure I give you guys content every single day. So it's kind of cool for me that we started off that run with an Air Jordan 13 and a really, really fine Air Jordan 13 at that. One of the coolest collaborations to come from the Air Jordan 13 line, especially with that terracotta army inspired upper on there. And then whenever a 13 comes around, I kind of always have a little soft spot for them. And I also consider the Air Jordan 13s to be the last in the classic Jordan lines. The 14s can be hit or miss for me. I especially like the 14s that have that kind of clean, uninterrupted side on them. But when it gets into a bit more stitching and stuff like that, I'm not so sure about them. And then after the 14s, things get a bit hazy with the Jordan line. But basically, you don't go far wrong with anything from Air Jordan 1 through 13. So whenever the 13s come along, I always try and do a video about them. They tend not to get that many views, but you know, that's part of being a YouTuber, is that you don't always chase the views. You always should, if you can, put up the content you personally are interested in. And like I say, when it comes to Air Jordan 13s, that's something I'm personally interested in. Not just because it was the first sneaker in this run of 650 plus consecutive days, but also because I just think it's a very cool looking sneaker and one of those iconic Jordan line sneakers. So that's what we're doing today. We're having a look at that. There's a lot to look at on this shoe. Now, usually I wouldn't make a video this close to its drop date. Now, I think I'm right in seeing these guys drop on September the 26th, and this video is probably going to go up on something like September the 22nd or 23rd, which is only a handful of days before the drop date. And usually I don't do that. Usually I give at least a week, maybe even 2 weeks between my video and the drop date, because it's all about that upcoming sneaker release and giving you guys enough information about a shoe so that when you go out there and think about getting them, you know what you're getting your hands into. But this one, it's only a few days, but I couldn't resist it. That 3 sneakers, 3 Lucky Greens Jordans in a row from, what were we saying, September the 26th to, I think it's October the 15th. So it's just like 20 days separating 3 different shoes. And I just sort of I was like, I have to do it. So a bit unusual for me to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. So without further ado, let's get into that and talk about all the details on this guy. Now, we'll look big and work small. That's what I usually do at the channel with the green screen behind me here. And I can start off talking about large elements of the shoe and then zoom in on the particular parts we like. So basically, white, green, black. That's the 3 different colors that are at play on this shoe. Now, the third of these 3 shoes that we're going to do, the Air Jordan 1 High Women's, they toss in an extra color in there in the red, and I'll get to that video in a couple of days' time. And I'm just not a huge fan of that. When a shoe has a very distinctive line of colors that you're like, this is a white, green, and black shoe, let's chuck in a little bit of red. It's always a bit of a for me. So I'm glad to see the 13s holding true to that tri-color sort of narrative. And it's not just that though. If you zoom in, we'll go and zoom in somewhere where you can see that upper white element and then that lower green element, because that green element, it wraps around from the heel, cuts its way across sort of the heel and the midfoot section, then down on into the mudguards of the midfoot and the midsole on there, and it's all green in there. Beautiful textured materials, specifically suede on the upper half, and then even when you get into that midsole section on there, you've still got a sort of roughed up textured feel to it, and it's absolutely the highest quality I've seen in a Jordan 13 in a very, very long time. Very, very cool. But not only is that green element on there in those beautiful luxurious materials, but also the white and tumbled leather above it. Beautiful materials and beautiful construction on this shoe. I think a lot of people are going to look at this and say, you know what, this might be a 13 I pulled the trigger on. Personally, I would worry about it being white. I make a mess of things, not just white shoes, but lots of different things. So I would look at a shoe like this and be like, how long is that going to stay in that condition for? But it's still, you know, it's a very cool, very fine shoe. Now I have a question for you guys out there before we get on to anything else. And I'll just, before, you know, I'm going to go to the heel and ask you a question about the heel, but I want to just quickly go up past the hologram as we get to the heel, because the hologram on the side of 13s is distinctive, and sometimes it doesn't feel in place on a shoe, as if the colouring inside it is sort of in contrast. Like you've got this blue and white shoe, and then this kind of the contrast with the hologram colouring in there doesn't quite work. But in a green shoe, it super works. And that little disc on the lateral side, it absolutely feels at home on this shoe. And then, like I say, it's not too far away to go from there onto the heel. Now, my question for you guys is this heel, does it mean anything? This was the first time I really looked at the heel of 13s. I mean, I've looked at a lot of 13s over time, but then I was looking at it, I was thinking, when you see them side by side like this, it almost looks like there's sort of a design wrap that goes across the two different shoes. I was almost thinking about yin and yang and things like that, but I don't know for sure. And I thought, instead of researching it, I'll just ask you guys out there, is there anything about the way the design on the heel sort of wraps around on both shoes? It's almost like the two halves combined together to make a whole picture on the back, but I don't know what it's meant to represent. And if you guys do know that, let me know in the comments down below, because I think it's a very cool feature and I think it could mean something, and it's very distinctive on these lucky greens. You can really see that. So something for you guys to teach me. I'm always happy to learn about stuff about shoes at the channel. It's one of the main reasons why I have a channel. So you guys telling me about stuff is definitely a priority of mine, so do that in the comments down below. Now there's two more things to look at really. The lacing system will start low with that Jordan, I think I'm right in saying it's Jordan in green on black at the bottom of the lacing system, and then you run up the lacing system, which is mostly white, but then you get to the top with that embroidered green Jumpman on the top there, and then in total contrast to all that, you keep going and on into the insole, and you see a green insole with a black Jumpman on the inside, but more I don't know what we'd call that. Would we say that's pasted on there rather than embroidered on there? So it's a total contrast between the tongues and the insole on these guys. And staying up there, you've got that lining as well in black, and that's kind of important because it sets this shoe aside from other green, white, and black Air Jordan 13s that have come in the past. So the lining being in black is actually kind of an important feature. And then the final thing to do is flip them upside down and have a look at the outsole. The Air Jordan 13 outsole is absolutely classic. It's kind of segmented in 4 different sort of ways, almost quadrants if you like, front and back, and they're split in the middle by a very cool midfoot shank. And in the case of these guys, an additional bit of detailing on there in the dots that give it a bit more sort of quality feel to it, a bit more premium feel to it. And then right in the middle of all that, you've got that little circle in there again in that green colorway and that green motif. So pulling it back out, looking at the whole shoe, this beautiful high quality premium material shoe is absolutely clean. Jordan 13s don't tend to fly off the shelves. I think I'm right in saying in the sneakers app here in Japan, the I think it's the Flints are still sitting on the sneakers app here. There's a blue pair of Jordan 13s that are definitely still sitting here, so they don't really get that, you know, blood pumping as far as people you know, getting a particular shoe. The Jordan 13s, I've got to get out there and get my hands on those. It doesn't really work that way, but this is such a clean shoe, it might be one of those ones that people really go after. So yes for me. The whole shoe, everything about it is absolutely perfect, and the premium materials just take it to a whole next level. So definitely a plus and definitely a yes if you're chasing this shoe down. Okay, it's time for me to sign off, and thank you guys for checking out the content. This is, like I said, video number 1 of 3 videos about lucky greens, and tomorrow, like I said, we'll be going into that Air Jordan 1 low, which is hard to find information about, which makes me think either A, it's not going to happen, or B, only one place knows it's going to happen, and you guys are in for some really insider information. So definitely find out tomorrow what's going on with those Air Jordan 1 low lucky greens. But for now, time to sign off. Thank you guys for checking out the content, and I'll do what I do at the end of every single video, which is remind you I do this every single day, so you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.